Jack Harlow announced a surprise project yesterday, Jackman, and this is where Tonio told me to mention something, but he told me it was going to be fire before it came out as soon as he seen the image, and he was right. I'm actually not surprised by how good he's rapping on this project. When he first came out and Antonio first introduced me to Jack Harlow, I felt like this is the type of music that he made. If you watch his progression, he was a rapper's rapper. You know what I mean? Like bars were very important. And he had some poppy-ish records like Sundown and some other stuff from before What's Poppin'. But once What's Poppin' hit, he hit this sort of like mainstream success, and it sort of veered him off of the sound that he kind of grew up on, but the sound that we were familiar with him from. And I've heard a lot of people talking about the project, but to me, it is most comparable, in my opinion, to Chomp by Russ, right? I usually don't talk about these two a lot, but Russ's approach to making a ton of different types of music is the reason that his fan base is so big and so wide and diverse in terms of the amount of demographics that he hits, like across different countries, across different genres. And so for Jack Harlow to lean back into the like rapper's album, it shows that not all things, it shows that it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's always and, not or. Gary Vee says that a lot, and I agree with that. I think certain artists feel like they're getting pitted into certain rabbit holes or certain like silos when it comes to genres. Like, oh, this is a pop artist. Oh, this is an R&B artist. Oh, this is a rapper. But if you don't allow them to do that, and the way you don't allow them to do that is by giving them like a proof of concept of whatever you're talking about. So if you want to rap, if you want to make Spanish music, like whatever it is, as long as you give them that, people can't say that that's not what they want from you, because it really doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to put out. I think a good example of this is Cal Uchis. I saw in an interview that she said that she was gonna drop in English, and she dropped her last project in English, and the next one's gonna be in Spanish. And she said she's gonna try and keep doing that, and she likes pushing her pen that way. And I think that's really dope. And I think obviously it's gonna give you a broader market to address to, because there's people that won't listen to English music and there's people that won't listen to Spanish music, but you're able to hit both when a lot of people aren't. Another good example of this, yeah. So, but in terms of the actual music on the Jack Harlow project, the thing that I find most interesting about it, or the thing I liked best about it, was his beat selection. The first four beats to me are crazy. I saw one of them was by Hollywood Cole. I can give you the producers right now. Okay. Yeah. And that was very surprising to me. I feel like he picked a great selection of people in terms of producers. So the initial one, Common Ground, which is a good song, produced by Angel, Babe, Truth, Lopez, J Soul, Mike Waves, and Nico. They Don't Love It, which is a great track, was produced by Hollywood Cole. That one's fire. Ambitious, which is produced by Wallace Lane. And then Is That I is produced by Hollywood Cole and Mario Luciano. I don't know a lot of these people. I haven't like I can't tell you what other songs that they've played. I'm definitely gonna check them out and probably come back to you guys with some other stuff that they did. But the beats on here are crazy, and I do feel like Jack got off. Pause. Jack got off. That's crazy. But I think that this project is really dope, and I'm actually, this one to me is way better than the last one, and I'll definitely probably have this one in rotation for a minute. But I think it's interesting, and I think it's dope that he's able to still go do that. You know what I mean? Like I talk about all the time, the fact that Russ drops Chomp shows that he's a real rapper. And another big point I realized when just listening to this project is the reason why hip hop and rap sets itself apart from other genres or other art forms is because of the authenticity that used to come with writing raps, right? Like everybody now doesn't really care if you write your own raps, but that used to be a thing back in the day with real hip hop heads and like MCs write their own raps. And it was kind of just an unspoken truth that people lived by for a while. And it didn't really like, I didn't really know why that held so much weight. Like it's obviously respect and like doing it yourself. But I think that after listening to this project and some of the things that he's talking about in here, like he's talking about some things with his dad and his brother and like people he's had to disown or kind of like dissociate from because of things that they did. And it made me think about how one, like it gives you a view into the mind of Jack Harlow, right? Like there are certain records where they're so like wide ranging and broad in terms of what he's talking about, or he's not really talking about anything of substance. And they make for good songs like a Nail Tech or like a First Class, but they don't really tell you about the artists themselves. And so it doesn't really allow for that connection between the artist and the listener. But a rapper, I realized like listening to this, it's like, oh, I understand him in a different light now that he's speaking on things about himself. You know what I mean? And so when I think about hip hop and rap, I think about why that is such a staple, not only in just America, but just as a global thing, and why it's sort of like everybody has accepted hip hop and hip hop is culture, is because it is equated with truth in a way. It is equated with authenticity in a way. I saw a video a little bit earlier of somebody talking about why hip hop blew up coming out of the civil rights movement. Like we had funk and then the sampling, and then it turned into hip hop in the 80s and 90s. And they were saying that basically it was the culture's reaction to nothing really changing, right? Like I've always said, hip hop is the voice of the voiceless. It's the people that aren't being spoken for, given a microphone, like by one artist or one person talking about what's going on in a specific community or what's going on in a specific demographic, and sort of broadcasting it out to the rest of the world. And him saying that really, like, I internalized that in a way that I hadn't really thought about that before. Like that couldn't have been, that's too close for it to be a coincidence. Like civil rights is straight into hip hop. And so I think that is why hip hop and rap is important in a way. It's just speaking on us. It's supposed to, or the good stuff or the timeless stuff speaks on some things in a way that a lot of people aren't able to articulate. And it sort of hits the masses in a way that maybe regular speeches or writing isn't able to, because it's entertainment and it's art and more people are going to consume it. It's like I think about the song I think like really embodies that is All Right by Kendrick Lamar. Like it speaks about a message, but it hit a large demographic of people because it's music. You know what I mean? So, and it's crazy that I heard that and thought about that listening to Jack Harlow's album. Me and Tonio talk about what hip hop is today. And I would say it as a joke, but it's like there's truth in all humor. And so I would say to him all the time that hip hop, Jack Harlow is hip hop now. Like for better or worse, for however you grew up on it, however it used to be, however you look at it now, Jack Harlow is what hip hop is today, or at least part of it. You know what I mean? And so for me to get that realization or think about why hip hop was important from listening to this Jack Harlow Lucy project that he kind of just threw out was kind of crazy to me. But I think it stands true for all types of hip hop all over the world. And we know hip hop is affecting like other communities in like the UK, Africa, Asia, wherever you want to talk about. And I think that this is just a fact that stands true across all of it. So outside of that, I would definitely go give Jackman a listen if you like rap, hip hop. Like I said, the first 5, there weren't really skips on here for me. It's a short project. I think it's like 20 some minutes. Yeah, it's not long. It's like 20 something minutes. And I would definitely give it a listen through. Like the first 4 songs are really, really dope. Well, 5. I really like the first 5. And then I like 8 and 9 too. And 10. I like all of them. I'm not going to lie. This is a good little project. But he's good for those. He's dropped a couple of these in the past. But if I had to pick 1 or 2 off of here that I really, really like, the intro, I grew up in the suburbs. The intro, Common Ground, made me think of so many people I grew up with in the suburbs and how hip hop affects people out there and how they like sort of take on the characteristics of the stuff that comes out in the music and in the culture, but they're not really connected to it in that same way that either people who have family in it or people who are actually in it are actually connected to it. And so that song to me was the best one, if I'm being real, because it just really hit home with me and where I grew up with. Like I didn't grow up in the inner city or in a really, really bad neighborhood. I grew up in the suburbs. And so you sort of see a mix of everything when you're out there. And I think he really hit it on the nail with that.